Right now, to prepare for the grants that you're going to be writing in the new year, I'm going to give you 5 steps that you can take to plan your grant writing in advance so that you can write your grants efficiently and avoid burning yourself out. So if you're new around here, I'm Sarah Dobson. I am a research grant consultant, and my team and I help early career researchers get funded at NIH. So before we talk about those 5 steps that you can take, let's first talk about why it's important to prepare and to plan in advance in the first place. And I know you probably already know this, but I just want to acknowledge that grant writing is one of those things that isn't urgent until it very much is. And what I mean by that is it's easy to treat grant writing as something you'll do when you feel like it until you're really up against that deadline, until that deadline is really breathing down your neck. And then you just need to drop everything and put your head down and write and write and write so that that grant gets out the door by the deadline. And sure, that is a way to write grants, but it is not going to produce the results that you want. Right? Because you are doing everything at the last minute, you're scrambling, you're not going to communicate your thinking. You're not going to communicate your research idea very well if it's all happening at the last minute and you're not really thinking about how to clearly communicate to your reviewer. You're just trying to get everything down on the page and get it out the door. And so this is going to end up not giving you the results that you want, which of course is a funded application, right? And so sure, you can continue on this hamster wheel of working on your grants when you feel like it until the last minute and then binge writing everything and being disappointed. And yeah, sure, you can continue like that, but there is a better way that will allow you to work more efficiently and that will allow you to write a higher quality application that is clear and persuasive and that will get you the results that you want. So let's talk about what those 5 steps are that you can take to prepare in advance. And this is really about planning in advance and then sticking to that plan, right? I mean, you can plan all day and then if you don't follow through on it, it's not going to matter. So that's sort of the other side of the coin, right? Is making a plan, preparing in advance, and then doing what you need to do to stick to that plan. Okay, so let's talk about those 5 steps to preparing your NIH grant writing in the new year. So step number 1 is actually to reflect on the previous year and think about what worked and what didn't work and what you want to bring forward into the new year, right? So what worked in the past year that you want to continue? What didn't work and what do you want to change? What do you want to do more of and what do you want to do less of? So those are just some really basic questions for you to use as prompts to think about how this year went for you and what you'd like to continue and what you'd like to stop doing next year. Okay. Step number 2 is what do you actually want to accomplish? Where do you want to be 12 months from now? And as an overachiever myself, I know that you have way more things on your list than you can possibly accomplish in a single year. But don't let that stop you now. What you want to do in this step of the process is actually just get it all down on paper. Write down all of the things you want to do, all of the papers you want to write, all of the grants you want to submit, all of the conferences you want to attend and present at. All of your hopes and dreams and wishes, just put them down on paper. Make sure that you have the fullest, grandest list of things that you want to get done so that it's out of your brain and onto the page. And I think you will probably be surprised by the number of projects that you see there. But that's fine. We're going to deal with that. I just want you to get it all down on paper so you can see what it looks like and see how overwhelming it is just to read that entire list, right? So that's step number 2, list all the things. Step number 3 is to list what is definitely happening next year. And by that, I mean all of your responsibilities, your obligations, your commitments, and your plans. Make sure that you are including personal responsibilities and professional responsibilities, okay? So all of those personal responsibilities and plans, all of those professional responsibilities and plans. These are the non-negotiables, okay? These are the things that are going to happen no matter what. and you need to sort of plan around them, right? The idea here is that you are listing all of those things. You know that they're already on the calendar. And so everything else has to fit in around those things that are already set in stone, that are non-negotiable. Okay. And step number 4 is to get picky. So that list of wants that you had in step 2, all of those things that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months, that's going to be a long list, right? That is going to be way longer than what you can actually accomplish in a year. So you want to, of course, get picky and decide what it is that you're actually going to focus on. Because one way or another, right? Whether you actually make a deliberate choice to focus on a few things and let some other things go, you are going to let stuff go, right? That long, long list that you created, there is no way that you're going to be able to get all of those things done. And so instead of just letting it happen and then realizing that things aren't going to get done, you can make deliberate choices about what you want to focus on and what you want to prioritize. And you can also make a deliberate choice about what gets put aside. But the other advantage here is if you do happen to be really efficient or projects go faster than expected, you can bring stuff back onto your plate that you had put off, right? That is definitely an option for you. But assuming that that big long wish list that you made in step 2 is definitely going to happen is already a recipe for disaster. Okay. So just make sure that you are thinking about what you really want to focus on and what you really want to prioritize. And one of my best recommendations here for you is to really focus on what is the impact that you want your research to make? Where are you headed in your research career? And what steps are you going to be taking in the next 12 months that will get you closer to where you are headed? What's that next step? And if all of your projects are aligned around what you want to be focused on and what kind of impact you want your research to make, that's going to make that decision making around what comes on your plate and what stays off of it a lot easier. Okay. So the next step is to break down your goal into quarterly milestones. Once you've figured out what it is that you want to focus on for the year, and I would recommend no more than, say, 2 or 3 big goals for the year, you want to break those down into milestones so that you can tell if you're actually on track, right? You want to make sure that you have a way of assessing whether you are on track or off track when it comes to the progress that you're making on achieving those goals, right? And obviously, if we're talking about grant writing, we are focused on submission deadlines, but you don't want that to be the only milestone, right? Because by the time you're up against that deadline, it's too late to make any changes. So you want to set milestones that are much earlier on in the grant writing process so that you can assess how far off track you actually are and make adjustments, right? You might need to move some things around or double down on the amount of time that you're spending on a particular project task or project activity so that you can meet those milestones, right? So that you meet the next milestone. So that is a really important part of the process as well, really to make sure that you're not going to miss a deadline or be scrambling at the last minute. So again, to recap, the steps that we have in this process, and these are really just the first 5, this is just a taste, right? We have taking stock of where you are now. We have listing all of the things that you want to get done in the next 12 months. We have listing what is definitely going to happen next year. We have getting picky about what your goals actually are. And then we have setting milestones. Okay. So if you found that helpful, we have a free resource library that has all sorts of tools and tutorials that you can use to improve your NIH grant writing. And you can sign up for that and get your virtual library card by checking out the link in the video description. So that is it for today. And next time we will be talking more about how to combat overwhelm when it comes to planning and executing projects. See you next time.